Hey, Sooner Nation, we're back. We're live today, though. We had a interesting day in Norman, Oklahoma. Another big commit. Um, we got I should say, happy birthday, Bill Bedenbow, and delivered to your doorstep today was five-star offensive tackle out of Louisville, Texas, Michael Fasusi. Um, I know everybody's been waiting his commitment, and a lot of predictions came in for him, I guess, in the past week or so. And I'm one of those. I got to see it to believe it. We've had our hearts broken a couple of different times in the last couple of years. So I never, until they grab a hat, and until they grab sometimes they grab the fake hat before they actually grab the real hat. So that was a huge get today. And so we wanted to come on and talk about that a little bit today. You got Rob and Brad here, and we decided, since this is recruiting, we'd bring back Chris Mason of Sooners 360 Patreon. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
You bet. Nice. What a big day. It's always a nice day when you land a 5-star. They don't come around very often.
No, it's a big day. OU fans have been tracking this recruiting for at least 6 months, 7, maybe 8 months. We've been hearing about the 3 elite tackles from the state of Texas for months, and obviously Haywood's off the board to Alabama. Lamont Rogers appears to have chosen Missouri, at least for now. And we were basically like, okay, are we going to get Fasusi from Texas or not? And it went back and forth. But I think, Michael, in an interview he did right after he announced with a number of recruiting reporters, it was the official visit in June, as I had kind of indicated the last time I was on your guys' podcast, where OU had kind of grabbed the lead. He and Bill's connection just became more clear, more to the forefront, and his family had a great visit to Norman as well. And it's funny hearing Fasusi talk about what he's like. Well, Bill's the best at this, and Bill's the best at that, so it's pretty simple. I just chose OU, and it's like, why have we had such a hard time getting 5-star offensive linemen for the last 5 years to grasp the obvious, right? Like, Fasusi was kind of looking at I think it was either Josh McCuistion or Colin Kennedy from 247 was like, who asked him, and he was just sort of like, well, it's just simple. Bill's the best at developing O-line, and he puts lots of O-line in the NFL. Do we really need to talk about anything more? And and I wanted to scream through YouTube, yes, we do. We constantly having guys ignore this who can't grasp this concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a huge win for OU. I've double checked my stats, looking back in the database as far as I can. He is the highest rated offensive lineman OU has ever gotten a verbal commitment from in the internet age of tracking internet recruiting. So I can't go back beyond, I think, 03 on the Rivals database. I guess there's a slim chance Wes Sims of Weatherford, Oklahoma.
Oh wow!
Okay,
he was a 5-star. Might have been higher than him, but I don't think he is. So
what about Jamal Brown? Is Jamal Brown?
No, Jamal was a defensive tackle out of high school.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Oh my God, sorry.
Yeah,
that was a little bit before my time, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was an elite defensive tackle. So, but in talking O-line, Fasusi is the number 9 player in the nation on ESPN and number 11 on Rivals. So, OU's never gotten an offensive lineman ranked that high. Stephen Good was in the 2008 class was 29th, and Bray Walker was 15th on the 247 network in 2018. So that's, this is you can just definitively say he's the highest ranked offensive line recruit OU has pretty much gotten in the meaningful time frame for anybody listening to this podcast.
Yeah, and just him paired with Foji and Afalava and Hollenbach, it's the by far the best haul Biedenbaugh's had since he's been in Norman. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, the 2020 class, both Parks, Rame, and Matt Anderson were all top 100 kids, but none of them were cracking like inside the top 40. I think Rame was 44 on one service, but it wasn't consistent, right? They were like 145, like 150 on some services. So
right,
they're composite rankings, but that was the last time OU got 2 top 100 type offensive linemen, but nowhere near the rankings of Fasusi. And I imagine that there's a good chance Foji is going to be bumping up against 5-star territory by the time his senior year is over, and the rankings are kind of evened out a little bit. Rivals has him a little low right now. The other services have him much higher. So, and I love Darius Afalava. I think I've mentioned on this podcast before. I think that was a huge pickup. 6'5", 320 pounds.
We watched him. We watched him just bury people over and over again. It was like the most violent highlight reel I've seen from an offensive lineman in a long time. High school reel. It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was shoving guys in the end zone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, Brad, it's a fantastic 4-player class. When you combine it with the 5-player class that's in Norman right now, that's had a really good first year. I mean, Josh Iasosa's done really well. I think Eddie Pierre-Louis would be starting at guard if he had enrolled early. Eugene Brooks is doing really well. And Autry Dent, Isaiah Autry Dent, we've got we've got good reports back from him. He's doing well. He wasn't we knew that was going to be a little bit of some development time there, but all 5 of those guys have had a good, productive first year. Daniel Akinkimi's finally healthy again. He was injured before he got injured. He was doing really well. They really loved where he was. And I think next January and next year, that'll be the year he breaks out. So you combine those 2 classes, and then the 3-player group left over from 2023. So Josh Bates has had a really good summer and August camp. He's battling at center. Heath Ozida is in the mix at offensive guard, and I think Logan Howland is probably just 1 year away from being more of a factor at tackle. He obviously didn't enroll early. He was more of a tight end in high school. He switched to offensive tackle his senior year. So just a little more baking time there. He's kind of more of what we expect from Bill, kind of taking a low 3-star guy, a high 3-star guy, and turning him into like an elite guy by the time he leaves Norman. But, I think when you combine those 3 classes, I think you're starting to see some young depth. And I really like I think Brooks, Afalava, Foji, Akinkimi, and APL and Brooks and Fasusi, I think, that core, that about 7, those 6 guys, I think those are some of the best players Bill's signed in a long time.
That's an SEC line right there. I mean, it is. That's once Biedenbaugh gets him the teaching points and gets them, Schmitty gets his hands on them, that's going to be an SEC line. I mean, without a doubt. And like you said, there's like 6 or 7 guys there. You need depth, and like, I don't. The last 3 classes have just been stellar, and then to come in with this Fasusi kid, who he's only been playing. This is his only 4th year of playing football. Is that right? He's going into his 4th year.
Yeah. So there's a kind of a funny, interesting trend there, in terms of offensive line. So Michael Fasusi's parents and his family emigrated from Nigeria to America 5 years ago. So soccer was the big sport.
Yeah, soccer.
Soccer. So he only started playing football his freshman year of high school because obviously, at some point someone saw him walking down the hallway and was like, some coach, I don't know if that's the story or something, but I could just see like somebody like, hey, who are you? And he's like, well, I'm Michael. I'm a new student here from Nigeria. Okay, do you play football? Yeah, I love soccer. I love football. Like, no. And then, you just see them like, no, dude, we need you playing the other football. But it's interesting because one of the big things that helped OU land Michael was that his host was Daniel Akinkimi, the OU player from the United Kingdom, who his grandparents emigrated to England. So Daniel is also sort of has Nigerian heritage. So does Michael Fasusi. And Daniel Ekinkimi was the host for Andrew Babalola as well, which he just posted on Twitter. That's like the last guy he needs to get. He got everybody he hosted. And Andrew Babalola's family also emigrated from Nigeria. They're either first or first and a half generation Americans from Nigeria. So, and obviously PJ Adewale is also of Nigerian descent. So I don't know quite what that means, but OU seems to start, and they're one of their top offensive tackle targets for 2026. Felix Oyo from Mansfield is also of Nigerian descent.
Wow!
Oh wow!
So,
Awesome.
I don't know quite what to do with that, but as we've seen in basketball, right? The basketball is much more of an international game. The Wembyana kid from France, who's the star for the Spurs, he's French African. Soccer is full of African and French African stars. If you follow international soccer at all, and if you follow basketball, obviously there's lots of even back to Hakeem Olajuwon and Joel Embiid. So there's just maybe American football, to use that term because of the international aspect, is about to start having more and more play. Not that it's not already. I can name any number of guys in the NFL, but more and more players of that are sort of first generation or second generation African immigrants.
Nice, yeah. So we got his film up here.
Yeah,
and my goodness, man. Very exceptional run blocker for sure, especially down blocking. I mean, if he's gonna he down blocks on you, you're toast. You're getting washed. Lots of power. One of the things I liked about him was his feet are really good. Like some of the camp stuff, I was able to find some on X, some camp footage of him going up against some the best. And his shirts and t-shirts or whatever, but my goodness, his foot speed, he just looks so smooth with it. It doesn't look like he's thinking. Like, it does not look like in his game. It doesn't look like he's thinking. It doesn't look like he's trying to think, okay, I need to step here. No, it's just all very smooth. I mean, this kid could easily 85% of the programs he would be starting day one easily. And then come to Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not a big okay, year one starter type guy, but my goodness, this kid is got so much to work with.
If he comes in early, if he enrolls early, and I'm not sure on that yet. I haven't seen anything definitive on that. He could easily be in, I think, the 2 deep at offensive tackle his true freshman year, and definitely a threat to start, I think, in year 2 if he got to play some
he's
experience.
He's pushing somebody for sure.
Yeah, it's a huge upgrade for OU with him and Ryan Foji in terms of the talent level and the depth at offensive tackle, which is, other than tight end, which we kind of getting a good report from in camp. I think offensive tackle was the weakest roster spot before this recruiting class. And if you get Foji and Fasusi to sign on the dotted line and they enroll early, I think you're making a big difference there.
Yeah, those are a couple of bookends for sure. And it's really been, one of Brent's calling cards as he comes in, and he said he recruits to his problems, and that's exactly what they've done. Every area they've been weak, they've went out and tried to improve that room, and this is just another example of doing that. So
yeah, I mean, this OU needed 2 elite tackles in this class, and they got them right. Ideally, they needed to add tackle depth. And they did. It was the number one, requirement in this class. Just like defensive tackle help was the number one requirement last year. Yep. So if you compare the two, this is, I think Fasusi is about as big a verbal as David Stone last year, right?
That's fair. Yep.
David Stone proved that OU could get 5-star defensive tackles and beat everybody in the nation for them. And they had a little bit of an edge because David obviously was from Oklahoma. And obviously Michael Fasusi is from Louisville. OU has recruited Louisville very well. That North Dallas area, which has always been good to OU. You know, Denton's been very good to OU lately. Louisville is, Louisville's around that, in that sort of general larger Dallas metro area, North metro area. So when you think about that, for Bill to get a 5-star offensive tackle to beat Texas A&M, Texas, Oregon, Missouri, and really Fasusi could have gone anywhere he wanted.
Yeah,
Ohio
he
State.
could have picked. He could pick and choose wherever he wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. And there's not a school in the country that would have turned him down.
Right.
So at this point, just like David Stone last year, really, I mean, he was down to OU in Miami, but really anybody would have taken him. So for Bill to win this battle and kind of to win it from coming from behind a little bit, because everyone thought he was going to Texas for the longest time. So for that, it looks like, it looks very, very, it's a big win for Bill. It's a big win nationally. It's very not often that you get a recruit. A verbal commitment gets you one of the news items on ESPN's front page news ticker on the right-hand side. And that's where Fasusi was. That's the Fasusi verbal was, because obviously ESPN has him, so highly rated. It's a big, huge win for OU. It's just, it's hard to put a description on it. Just a couple of quick stats for you guys. OU was 15th in the nation on On3 rankings before the Fasusi verbal. They jumped up to number 11. He moved them up 4 spots within striking distance of the top 10. OU's now back in the top 10 on 247. Then they're the 8th team in the country. They were 11th previously. They moved up 3 spots. And OU was 8th on Rivals, and they moved up to 5th on Rivals now.
I saw that.
So that's how big a commitment he is in terms of just he's a 5-star. That's 6 5-stars that Brent's gotten since he took over. The 3 full recruiting classes, each one of those, has had a 5-star. So that's a quarterback, running back, offensive tackle now, and defensive line, defensive tackle, defensive end, and safety. So that's a pretty nice spread. It's not just wide receivers and quarterbacks like the Lincoln Riley era. It's offensive line, it's defensive line, it's safeties. I think, Danny Okoye probably should have been a 5-star. That's what everything seems to be pointing. All the buzz out of Norman seems to be pointing in that direction. And I watched his film last year. I thought he should have been a 5-star. On my pod, we were constantly saying that. So, I think if you're viewing this, and again, there's a chance Foji could be, he could be a 5-star if some people make some different evaluations on him. He's athletically, he's very gifted as well. He's got length. He's a great tackle looking prospect. Rob, I wish I had a chance to tee up and send you the Twitter video of Fasusi playing dodgeball with his friends in high school.
Oh, I think I saw that once. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy because he's, it's just like he's just like a dodgeball in like gym playing with just regular kids who are like 6 foot, 180 pounds, and he's just, he's massive. And he's just hurling these like meteor dodgeballs at kids, and he's dodging and leaping, and you're like, it's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's like The way I describe it is guys this big shouldn't be this agile, this quick, or this explosive, right? They should be lumbering, uncoordinated, and slow. And we just watched all these highlights, and the last thing you can say about whatever there he is. Look at that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He,
like in his game, like he's
ready to throw. Look at that. That's just it's gonna be frightening to watch a 6'6", 300-pound guy throwing dodgeballs at you. Look at him. Look at him dancing around. That's just crazy.
He is a big target to hit, though. So I will say that.
Well, yeah. Am I gonna hit him though? I don't think I'm gonna hit him though. But just look how good a shape he's in, and he's 6'6", 300. And you can't tell me that Schmidt's not going to turn that into 6'6", 315 block of granite that just hammering people. So I'd love that you pull that up, Rob. That's fantastic. I just think this is when you talk about like raw materials, giving Bill the best raw materials, and then he'll make everything work. We just saw that basically in 2 years of coaching Tyler Guyton, who was a tight end and a defensive tackle in high school, and
played a little H-back too.
So TCU not really using him. Bill in 2 years coached him up to be a first-round pick, and all we're reading from Dallas's camp is that he looks unbelievable. He looks great.
Well, I mean, he's ranked PFF #1 preseason offensive tackle right now. Him and Walter Royce are 1 and 2 in preseason offensive tackles.
For rookies. Yeah, I mean, he looks
for rookies.
Yeah, he looks. And if you watch the videos, Guyton's burying guys. So, and that's just 2 years of being coached by Bill. Then you give Bill a guy like Fasusi right off the bat playing offensive line. He's played offensive line in high school. He'll maybe get a chance to come in early, be coached by Bill early. I mean, by the time this guy's had 3 years of Bill's coaching,
sky's the limit, man.
I mean, he could be a top 5 pick. I mean, that's not.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, that's recruiting hyperbole and all that. That's not.
It's not.
Him and Foji have that kind of potential to be top 5 picks. So if you have 2 top 5 picks in your recruiting class, potential, that's. I mean, and obviously in the SEC, OU is going to be dealing with 5-star defensive ends. If they're going to have to go through Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee to win a SEC championship, right? They're going to have to beat some combination of those teams to get an SEC championship. So eventually, you're going to run into 5-star defensive ends. They all live in the South, right? They all are they're mostly in the South. The high schools,
they're mostly
in the South.
Georgia, LSU,
in Georgia, exactly. So how do you beat those teams? Well, you start with 6'6", 315-pound super athletes as bookend tackles. That's how do you block the James Pierces of the world? Well, this is how you block them. You have your own elite tackle to stop them.
Yeah, it's a great ad, and I keep thinking of what it would look like to have Fasusi and EPL on the left side together, and how nasty that's going to be here in a couple years. I mean, that's going to be unreal.
Well, then you've got
it's going to be unreal.
But then Darius Afalabra, Eugene
people
Brooks,
movers, man.
Just pounders, folks that just slam people. I mean, it's just.
I'll be right back. Bella, stay on here.
Sure, and then you have. And then you've got players like Daniel Akinkimi, who's 6'6", 310. Runs a 4.9 and is just learning football. It's just his football IQ is just going up like that. And you've got, Josh Iasosa was playing center in the scrimmages, and Josh is 6'4", 320.
Right,
a really good athlete. He's just scratching the surface of his basketball. Drop basketball, focus on football. Career. So it's for Bill, it's a big turnaround. Obviously, if they'd lost Fasusi today, we'd be having a very different podcast. Bill would not be getting the love and flowers he today. That's just the way the recruiting works. And Bill gambled heavily, right, on I'm going to get one of these Texas guys or Fasusi, right? I'm going to get one of these. Or Babalola from Kansas City. He gambled this. He didn't make any more offers when he lost Haywood. Haywood, did that whole I'm not visiting OU and then I'm choosing Alabama thing. He didn't make any more offers. When he lost Lamont Rogers on kind of a weird, 3 days before signing day, he says,
I remember that.
I'm going to go to Missouri instead. It was like, okay, all right. He didn't make any other offers. And I was screaming for him to make more offers on my podcast. I'm like, we need more, So the only question is, can OU get the 5th offensive lineman in this class? And as everyone says, there's no chance it can be Andrew Babalola, but Steve Wiltfong today was talking on his video right after the Fasusi that OU's have much heavily involved with Babalo than most people believe. They have a good chance with him. He's having a hard time making a choice, and OU has got the distance advantage. They have kind of that culture advantage as well. And Bill is obviously, maybe Andrew can come to the same simple conclusion that Fasusi came to. Well, Bill produces the best offensive lineman. He puts offensive linemen in the NFL where they
lots of millionaires in the NFL because of
go ask
lots of millionaires.
It's a shame Orlando Brown can't just swing by his house any longer because I think Orlando's in Cleveland, right?
No, Bengals.
Cincy, yeah.
Right.
He's no longer in Kansas City. He just can't swing by. I guess Wanya Morris could swing by if we wanted him to, but
Sure.
and say, hey, you could, Bill's
Guyton's just down the road.
Guyton
could easily come out.
Yeah, you can just fly up and say, but yeah, you have to wonder if there's some chatter of a Utah offensive tackle that OU might be interested in. We'll see if something pans out there, if OU will make any more offers, bring any more kids in. But I would like to see a fifth guy, mainly because OU lost Caden Green. So you just want to keep those numbers because I really want OU to get out of, my last sentiment of the night, really. I want OU to get out of the portal merry-go-round for offensive tackles, right?
Yeah,
It's expensive. You don't know what you're getting. Bill hit gold twice and then looks like maybe Brown is not what he thought he was getting. And maybe he should have evaluated gotten someone else and made a different evaluation. Obviously, they tried to get Hurd, and it was just really expensive. The LSU guy, OU was unwilling to spend that much.
Well, Tennessee came in and gave him a couple million, right?
I mean,
7 digits for sure.
7 digits for sure. So it's expensive, right? And you don't know what you're getting really,
and you don't know what
as opposed to signing
in-house. High school. You're spending time. Then you get them in. You can get to know them, know their game strengths,
and develop them.
Improvements. Yep, and develop them. Yeah.
As opposed to that. So you'd like to see OU, just like one guy, like we need like a guard, maybe. If OU needs wide receivers from the portal, that's fine, right? There's like hundreds. There's like hundreds of them all.
There's like 15,000 yard receivers or something like that. Every portal. There's like a dozen or 24 1,000-yard receivers every time a portal opens. So
right, so that's fine. Backup quarterback, that's fine. But let's get out of the offensive tackle portal business and let's just start rotating and rolling in the guys that we're signing and developing. That's my big view. But I think Fasusi and Foji go a long way to that because I think one or two of both ideally, but at least one of them I think could be ready early to help OU at a very high level.
Yeah, I think we're slowly starting to lose that kind of that enigma that we had or whatever, some hate from other places saying we were 3-star U, 4-star U, whatever it was. This is what, is this the third cycle in a row that we've gotten 1 or 2 5-stars?
Yeah.
And it's different positions, across the board. So
and 2026, I think, already has a 5-star in Jaden O'Neal at quarterback. So you're spacing out your 5-stars there. And I think, so that's good. And I think Jonathan Hatton has a 5-star potential, the running back from San Antonio in 26. And OU's, got several 5-star other potentials for 2026. So I don't, the Brandon Arrington, the athlete from California who visited for the Student on the Stars event, is a top 20 player in the nation, 6'3" corner from California. So, yeah, I think it's, again, a 5-star player. There's another 5-star punt potential with Foji. If they got Babalola, that's another 5-star. If you got 3 5-star offensive tackles, I think the hate Bill guys would have to take themselves down to Guyana and pass around the Kool-Aid and just kind of pull a Jim Jones and just kind of they wouldn't know what to do with it. It would be like, what do we do? Well, I don't know, guys. He got 3 5-star offensive linemen. You could try saying you can't recruit all you want, but
Yeah.
no one's gonna listen to you. But we'll see how things shake out. But regardless, Fasusi's a huge pickup. I love Foji as well. I love, I love Afalava. Hollenbeck, I'm a little worried that maybe we've got some center guys ahead of him, and can he play guard? I'm a little worried about that. But he's a moose inside, and I think he just needs to reshape his body a little bit to get a little more athletic. So, and this will. And I think that that's a good class. You can't argue the top 3 players in that class are fantastic kids. If they all enroll early, have a chance to be factors in the OU 2 deep for 2025.
Yeah, and I was just looking in the chat. Mars mentioned a comment out there. It'd be nice if we could. I know Jonah Williams is expected to go somewhere else. But that'd be a nice steal here at the end, just to get another 5-star.
Well, again, he could decide to go somewhere else, and he could then decide to take 3-4 official visits afterwards this fall to other places. Because that's the thing about that. It used to be guys took 5 official visits. It's pretty much the end of their recruiting process, right? And most of the big name recruits have done that already. But this fall, OU could bring in 3 or 4 guys if the OU. Stuart Mandel was doing sort of a shocking prediction thing for the Athletic, and he had OU going 9-0. Right? If OU's going 9-0, heading into like the last 3 games at 9-0, can you tell me OU might not be able to get some kids on campus and start talking about some flips, some big names?
Yeah.
Who knows?
You're 9-0. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Well, that'll be OU would be probably 3 in the country at minimum.
At minimum.
If they start 9-0, they'll be. It's wins over Texas and Ole Miss,
Texas
and Tennessee,
Miss, Auburn, and Tennessee.
I'll be booking some hotel rooms in January if we.
Absolutely. There'll be a Champion Standard live podcast at the Natty. We would have it all booked and ready to go.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that you just never know how the season could go, right? If OU has a lot of momentum, does really well, they could get some couple of kids who were like, well, I wasn't really looking at OU, and then we saw with Reggie Powers last year, OU's ability to quickly flip somebody, right? And then now he looks fantastic on campus. Gabe and Teddy are just raving about the freshman safeties, Boganowski and Powers and Jaden Hardy. So you never know when OU could add a couple of late pieces that could bump up the recruiting class. And Jonah Williams, OU's going 9-0. All of a sudden, Jonah Williams is like, well, why am I going to LSU? I wanted to go to OU to begin with. Let me give OU an official visit. Shows up for a Bama game where OU plays out of their minds and what could be like, college game day, massive atmosphere. And he gets all wrapped up in it and says, well, I'm going to go to Norman instead. So, and OU's like, all right, no problem. So,
there's a chance he doesn't even step on a football field if he's as good in baseball as what I've been hearing. So
yeah, so who knows? But yeah, really, it's a big win today for OU. Big win for Bill Bedenbaugh. It's nice to kind of just get past that conversation. Now, fans can just be mad at him over the product on the field instead this fall. They can they could be mad over the Temple offensive line and overanalyze that. So it's good, but overall, when you think about the recruiting class, this was the biggest thing missing. Another offensive tackle to go out and get one of the top 3 tackles in the nation to fill your need. It's just like David Stone, right? And we needed a 5-star tackle to get the interior of our defense going. We got Jackson and we got Stone, and they're both going to probably play big roles this fall. And again, if he enrolls early, I think, and develops quickly, everything, all the other pieces are there with Fasusi. It's just a matter of, can other folks stop him from getting on the field?
I think bare minimum, he's pushing someone real hard. He's gonna be on the field when he gets here eventually. Now, if he's gonna be in a starter or whatever, but he's gonna be pushing some people for sure for some field time.
Yeah. What do you think, guys? You want to wrap it up? This was definitely one of those evenings that we needed to have a live pod.
Yep.
And talk about this. It doesn't happen every day, but someday it will. We'll we'll be having these 5-star conversations about once a month.
Ooh.
Well, it's tough. I mean, everybody's fighting for the 5 stars, so
I know.
you are lucky to get one. I mean, Georgia currently doesn't have a 5-star player. Think about that on Rivals.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
So and Tennessee has Miami has 2.
Tennessee's killing it right now. I hate to say, but yeah.
Well, they got David Sanders, the tackle who is the only tackle who is ranked clearly ahead of Fasusi on all the services. Sanders is number 1.
Right.
After that, you could argue Fasusi's or Haywood or number 2. It just depends upon who's kind of doing the rankings there. But yeah, I think it's a big day, big win for OU, needed. And anytime you can steal a 5-star from Texas, where Texas fans thought this guy was going to be a Longhorn, that you can start getting Texas doing their usual family feud of, what are the, I'm going to try and do the family feud thing on my podcast coming up. The OU, top 5 things Texas fans say after losing a 5-star recruit to OU. Survey says,
we didn't really want him.
There you go. We didn't really want him.
We didn't really want him.
34 points. He's not that good. That is correct. That is the number 2 on the board.
Right.
Yeah.
We're recruiting a better guy in 2020. Next year, we're recruiting. It's okay. We're recruiting a better guy next year. That is answer number 3 on the big board with 24 votes. So, anytime you can, it's adding good defensive ends are nice. The fact Michael Fasusi won't be blocking them in the Red River rivalry for 3 years is even nicer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Brad, send us home.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining on the chat today, and anybody else that's listening in. Just a huge day, massive pickup in stature and in size, and just importance to our recruiting class. Hopefully, we can keep these 5-star guys rolling in. I feel like the recruiting has shifted over the last 2 years. Top 5 classes are going to become the norm, and all we need now is that 9-0 start, great season, whatever. They'll just keep pouring in. So thanks everybody for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow us. We enjoy all the comments too. Let us know if there's something you want us to talk about, but until next time, I guess we'll just Boomer Sooner. Later.
And everyone go check out Chris's 360, Sooners 360. It's got a cool hat on this pod. That's a cool hat. I wouldn't mind get myself one if you don't mind. Yeah, I like that. Go check it. You got 2026 ramping up here pretty quick.
I do. If you're following me on Twitter, I've been talking 2026 kids all of August. So follow me on Twitter. You'll get links to all my pods, links to the Patreon content. So just CM_Sooners360 on Twitter and X. If you follow me, you'll get links to all of my information.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Recruiting's 24/7. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.